give you thanks. We give you praise. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Brothers, good morning to you.
Good morning, Bishop. How you doing?
Doing well, man. Doing well.
Okay, and we will not talk football today, but maybe later on during the week.
Make me want to laugh.
He's gone. Okay, good morning, everyone. And every day we rise is a great day to be alive. And the Seven Cities Forums of Hampton Roads presents Portsmouth Coffee Talks Morning Show. And I'm James Slim Overton, and I'm here with my co-host, Leah Drake Stitt, and the bona fide Colonel himself, Thomas Chapman. Good morning, host. You know, a lot of people are called colonels, but we got the real deal.
Got a real colonel. Got a real colonel with us.
Served this time, you know. But anyway, y'all doing okay this morning?
Oh, great, yeah. Great this morning.
And we have special guests with us. We have James Boyd, who's president of the Portsmouth Chapter of the NAACP, and vice president, Pastor Louie Gibbs. Good morning, guests. How you doing?
Good morning to you this morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for coming on. And James, thank you for making that switch for us. Sometimes those things happen, but I'm glad the two of you were able to do that. You know, we had James scheduled for the 30th, and so we had to switch because one of the persons on this day had something he had to do today. But we appreciate that. But anyway, let's start. Let's start here. And I'm gonna say, I went through last night. I was going through some of the YouTube and trying to find some of the TV appearances y'all made, and some of them went back 2-3 years, and haven't seen any lately. And you know, that's what people try to gauge on what the organization is doing for what they see on TV, but they don't realize it's a lot of work going on all the time that might not be newsworthy to the local channels. So, you know, and I saw that and I said, wow, okay. And it makes people wonder, you know, well, where's the NAACP with state issues? And they don't realize that, you know, things are working. But I'll let you guys explain that, because, you know, we've heard that, you know, especially with a lot of things in the last year or two going on with city council. And I know you don't endorse or things like that, but I know you do get involved with issues involving city council, especially if it affects the communities which you or the people that you all represent. You know, so tell us what you've been doing. Tell us what's up with the NAACP now.
Sure, thanks, bro. I appreciate. First of all, thank you for having us on, and it's good to always be on with you and Sister Leah and Brother Thomas, Colonel Chapman. Definitely, it's good to be on this morning, and definitely a huge fan of the show. So it's an honor to be on. First of all, so the NAACP is a civil rights advocacy organization that focuses on eradicating race-based discrimination through policy and procedure. And we get that question oftentimes. That's a question that a lot of branches get is, you know, where is the NAACP? Certainly, we have an obligation to make sure that we are visible and that people know where we are. So that's something that we're always trying to do. Certainly, for sure, the pandemic changed a few things, you know, from us being public as we always have been with the branch. But I can assure the community that we have been working really, really hard. Matter of fact, during the pandemic, and I'll talk a little bit about this last year and a half that, you know, we've been experiencing in our city with leadership. But through it all, you know, Dr. Daniels, who was my predecessor, always told me, James, keep the main thing, right? And the main thing that the branch has to do is has to focus on policies and procedures and complaints that come into the branch. And I will say this, our branch has experienced a very, very large call volume, especially since the pandemic and when everything was going down with city council. So we've been focused on those things. A lot of the things I can't make public because they deal with very sensitive issues. But we've been very, very, very focused on that, whether it be from issues dealing with law enforcement, issues dealing with cases in courtrooms, whether it's dealing with policies and procedures that haven't got a lot of attention. Like, for example, while council was going through, we were focused on the shift that was going on in council and with the city manager. We've been focused on really policy that council enacted about 1.5 years ago that pretty much said that this Portsmouth City Council does not endorse labor unions at this time for their city workers. The NAACP and leaders like Dr. King were very focused on unions because of what they do for workers. And so I'll take that just for example, when the General Assembly allowed local municipalities to allow city workers to unionize. That was a huge win that we had with the NAACP on a statewide level. And so surely we thought coming back here to the city that type of language, that type of opportunity will be welcome, but the city chose not to do it. Those kind of things that are happening behind the scenes that people really don't pay much attention to. We have always been in the battlefield fighting to bring attention to that and fight against things like that, because we believe that unions help workers, whether they be city workers, whether they be other workers, like at Kroger's. Kroger's right now in the city of Portsmouth is refusing to allow their workers to unionize. We vehemently disagree with that. So that's just one thing behind the scenes. And there's a slew of other things I could talk about that we've been seriously focused on that don't get a lot of attention. But one of the things that we're doing this year is focus on getting that spotlight, public spotlight, back to where we were before the pandemic.
Let me inject a little bit my experience and briefly, when I was younger and a member of the NAACP, they had certain committees for certain things. And
That's right.
A lot of people don't know that when issues come to the NAACP, that committee goes out and talks to the people and, see if it's founded or unfounded, and they bring it back to the body. And then it's decided whether they're going to deal with it or not. So that goes on all the time. So that's one of the things people don't know this goes on. And a lot of times you help those people and, it's not something that you broadcast, but, those people.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, from that to things happening in the school system, and we look at all those things, especially when it comes to suspensions and things of that nature that we see oftentimes disparities. We've been addressing those things for sure. But I can assure you and assure the public that our branch has been working really extremely hard on those issues that are important to our mission and to our cause.
And Lou and Pastor Gibbs, Louie, and I've seen you and James over the years. Y'all put up a very strong front for the NAACP, a very serious, effort in what you're doing. And you also involve the ladies that are involved with you. You have a second vice president in Onyx. So, it's not a male-dominated group, so a lot of the issues you deal with are dealing with various subjects. How important it is to you and the rest of the organization to put up that strong front so people will know how serious you are about issues?
First, I want to thank you all for the opportunity this morning to come on and talk. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I want to, if I could, just backpedal for a second to kind of piggyback off of what President Boyd was saying. The NAACP, we're not ambulance chasers, right? So a lot of times you may not see us in the public because we're not chasing a story, we're not chasing a camera, we're not chasing opportunities to be seen. The times that you've seen us is because we were working and the cameras happened to be there, right? There is, just to reinforce some of the things that Dr. Boyd was saying. James was saying there's a lot of things that happen all over the place that you guys will never ever know about. And for us, it's more important that we are making a difference than necessarily displaying the difference. If it gets seen, great. Praise the Lord. If it doesn't, cool, and lives are still changed, then we're doing do. As it relates to how important it is for us to keep a united front. One of the biggest detriments to the Black community is disunity, right? We don't, unfortunately, sometimes everybody's an individual and everybody wants to do their own thing. And so we approach things like this instead of like this. So for us, I know when James and I first got involved, one of the things that we said to each other was, nobody's going to get in and separate us. And nobody's going to work against the branch and have us fighting each other. And that includes men against women, which is also oftentimes also a ploy toward disunity. And so we're very intentional on involving women. We were very intentional on Keisha and Onyx being involved. Here's the truth of the matter: Keisha is a very strong voice. She is in front. The truth of the matter is, she might as well be me and James. Like we would, she would come in when she came in. She was ready to fight, just like we were. She doesn't front or she doesn't back down, and that's the same with most of the women who exist within the NAACP. We are one family. We aren't a bunch of individuals, though we have different passions. We're one family operating toward one goal, and that is making sure that we deal with race-based discrimination and policy. Again, some of us have more passionate about particular areas than the other ones, but it's very important that when we come out, that when we address issues, that we are united. I hate the word front because the front suggests it's fake, right? No, it's just who we are, right? Like when you see us, when you hear us, it's who we are. Now, granted, let me say this: with any organization, you got conference room squabbles, right? And because we have different passions, the truth of the matter is, sometimes we think that our issue is the most pressing issue. And so it takes a special type of navigation and trust in each other for us to say, all right, cool, I'm gonna pull back on this one a little bit because this issue is more pressing and more prevalent than the other. I hope that answered your question.
It certainly did, and thanks for correcting me about using front.
No. I was just no correction. I just wanted to share that part.
And disagreements are healthy, as long as you can come out and be united.
Don't become disagreeable.
Right.
Yes.
Something we didn't see, with our leadership in the last couple of years. So
yeah,
I just had to throw that in.
And let me say, right, it's amazing that so many people feel that the need for the NAACP is outdated. And how they can think that in a time in history, when we're looking at a time when people like this, I know it's not in Virginia, but it can come, DeSantis is trying to wash away any history of Black Americans. It comes at a time when we have a governor who's talking about, I can't even say the word anymore, that we have in the school system that does not exist. It comes at a time when teachers are having problems in the school system, and he wants parents to be able to tell on teachers. It comes at a time when they're just trying to erase us as a people, erase our history as a people. And for any individual to think that the need for the NAACP has gone away, it's just not this time. This is not the time. This is not the time at all, because there's a lot of work that still has to be done. A lot of work that has to be done locally, statewide, as well as nationally. So how is the membership of the NAACP? And I'm guilty. I know I need to pay my dues, James. I get Dr. Norcom dues. I promise you, I know I need to. Because I was very active in the NAACP in my younger days, But I do intend to get involved again, because we're facing critical issues at this time. And how has the membership nationally, locally, statewide, how has that membership been? How has it grown? Has it decreased? What's going on with it?
Absolutely, that's a great question, Leah. And speaking from a national perspective with membership, it has grown exponentially. The association really started to focus on the age ranges of 25 through 40 because that's where we saw the gap from membership. People will be a part of the youth council and AXA, and then there would be a gap when they graduated from college and then when they start living their lives. So that age range, the association really focused on. It's a program that we call Next Gen, which is really focused on getting that particular age group, and it's worked wonders throughout the association. But us locally, for sure, we have experienced and have maintained membership for sure. Pat Carroll, who's our membership chair, has always done a great job with maintaining our membership, encouraging people to join. Matter of fact, we've gotten, I don't know, I'm gonna brag about this. I don't know if there's any other branches in the area that are listening, but we have corporate memberships. I think we're one of the only branches that has corporate membership, which is people basically giving $5,000 to join for their membership. So I mean, it's been really, it's been going really great. It's been a challenge for sure, obviously with the pandemic, but it's going really well in terms of membership. And you're right about issues that are important. Obviously, one of the huge issues that we all are trying to tackle is the issue with senseless violence in our community, gun violence and other type of violence. And certainly we have a lot of work to do on that front, and have had a lot of ideas, have been advocating for those ideas. And as Pastor Lou said, you know, we don't, just because we don't go to something or advocate for something and then go to Facebook and post it and have, that's just not what we do. And the reason why is because the work is so serious. Not saying that Facebook can't be serious, it can be, but it's not something that we're using for personal advantage or to bring us up. And I remind people, you know, we've been in this game. This is my 9th year as president. So this is not like we are, you know, individuals who are just looking for the come up. No, we've been in this fight even before that, when we were in there with Dr. Daniels and I was chair of housing for her. You know, we've been in the battle for a long time. So certainly there's things that we do that don't get the attention, but as Lou said, we're just working and the cameras happen to be there. But seriously, on that issue with gun violence, we have a lot of work to do on that. And so you're right, there's a lot of pressing issues that we have to face for sure.
Colonel, I saw you.
Yeah, one of the things too, I need to get a disclaimer out right quick. Should have got it before, but you know, the views listed on this or stated on the program are those of the guests and the host, and not the radio station or anybody else. So we can stay out of Facebook jail. And then so the other piece is for those out there in Electron land, this is 2023. And we also need your help on Portsmouth Coffee Talk. Like send a donation or an honorarium so we can expand the program and to bring programs like this to everybody. You can send a check or a money order or whatever to Portsmouth Coffee Talk, P.O. Box 7664, Portsmouth, Virginia 23707. And Slim will give you our Zelle account also if you.
Well, if you want to do Zelle is Portsmouth Coffee Talk at yahoo.com. And Cash App is $PCT 1220.
So now that I got the floor here, and as Leah laughed, I may not give up the floor for no time soon, but I just have a quick comment here. The NAACP has a very important mission and for American rights. And I'll say American rights because I'll include us in America where we've already stated that, you know, like our governor, lieutenant governor, and our attorney general for the state of Virginia, I'll keep this kind of local, wants to not include us in the decision-making and anything that has to do with the state of Virginia. Once a white and international, you mentioned DeSantis, if he's elected president, you know, he will wipe us out of the history books. And you see that debate coming on now. And I think one of our guests talked about the unions, and I'm a pro-union guy. And I think the unions, and if you look at the statistics, it belonging to a union, you'll see the more increases in benefits and salaries and benefits versus the private sector than anywhere else in this country. You'll see where we popped up a lot of the car companies in these Confederate states are out there in South Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee, non-union auto plants. And those folks are happy to make $15, $23 an hour with no retirement, no barely a little bit of health care. But union shops, and my brother's an electrical union man, you look at the benefits for the union workers far outpace those other workers. And so it would tell you why do these big business go to non-union places? And you look also at the quality of work that unionized laborers do versus non-union contractors. And then so I wouldn't hire, when I subcontract something, say for my house, I also ask if they're part of the union, because I know I'm going to get a different level of quality in the job that they do. I may have to pay a little bit more, but I know the work's going to be done right. And so I just had to get that off my chest.
Yeah.
Yes.
Point. Good point.
Good point. Yeah. Yes. And then so also when we look at the state of unions, I also look at the NAACP in a broad context. You're part of the union because you are uniting. The organization is united not just for people of color, but for all, because you go in and you talk about racial justice for all, because when you improve, say, a hiring practice in an institution, and we talked about the city of Portsmouth didn't want to go to a union, but those same, and I'll paraphrase Dr. King, those same roads that y'all get somebody to improve, that we improve, are traveled by who? Blacks, whites, Latinos, traveled by everybody. When the schools are improved, who benefits? Everybody. So the work that you do, your organization does, improves the lives of what? Everybody. So we just don't want to get caught up in this is a Black organization. And so I just have to say that. What say you for that?
You want to go, Pastor Gibbs, or you want me?
So yes, I'll start. So yes, we are a union, a union of brothers and sisters who are fighting for the same causes, and like a union, hear my word choice here, should stick together in times of trouble. The operative word there is should. One of the things I love about the union, a true union, is this: when they walk out together. When they stand up together. Black people in this country are the biggest consumers in the country. We spend the most money in the country. And when it's time for us to put that economic power to use, we become very individualized. And one of the fights with our branch, and I'm gonna say branches all over the country, and other Black civil rights organizations, is trying to get that collective power at work. To say Madeline O'Hara, I gotta go this way because I'm a pastor. Madeline O'Hara single-handedly got prayer out of school. She wrote a petition, she petitioned the court, and before we knew it, prayer was gone from schools. Unfortunately, we find this same issue in Christianity, where people don't come up and step up together to stand up for what should be done. And with DeSantis, I see something very similar happening, and people like DeSantis with critical race theory and the ideation that critical race theory somehow is the truth of the matter is, it's anti-white, right? And so the goal is to get it out of the school system, away from our children, to a place where, here's the truth, the history is already in the favor of the majority. Right, so already in the favor of the majority, and the longer it'll be in the favor, the longer it's in the favor of the majority, the more our children will become less identified with our heritage and who we are. But the power is in the streets. The power is in the people. The NAACP is just an organization designed to bring these things to the forefront, but it is in the power of the people. I remember watching an interview of I think with Andrew Young or someone concerning Dr. King, and how intentional he was about making sure that the people were involved, to the point that he said at one point, put the children and the women in the front. America's not going to be able to handle women and children being beat.
Exactly.
We're not going to be able to handle the dogs biting women and children, etc. So he understood that there was, whether we wanted to admit it or not, the tugging of the heartstrings is going to come with the people, with our neighbors. So the power is in the streets, and people have to care more for our neighbors.
Right.
We got to care, well, as much for our neighbors as we do for ourselves, understanding that our power is collective. It's not individual. And if we can get rid of this assimilated Negro syndrome, where we come up and then we leave where we came from.
Yes.
We come up and then we forget who we were. We come up, we get out of London Oaks, we get out of Swanson Homes, we make it out of Prentice Park, we make it out of that triangle, then we assimilate to this space where I no longer have anything to do with it. I pull myself up by my bootstraps. I won't go back and teach people to pull themselves up from their bootstraps. And so when DeSantos comes in, the biggest power they have is knowing that we're not going to stick together.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
We have that issue in the city of Portsmouth right now. I don't know who's together. And the truth of the matter, they don't know who's together. Because all of it is connected to whatever the whiffle is for the individuals involved. Right? What's in it for me? We've got political PACs that will jump ship to the next person just because it benefits them more than the collective community.
That's right.
I'll be honest with you. I'm excited about the Rivers Casino being there. I am not an advocate for gambling, but I promise you, when I drive down Victory Boulevard now and I see life in Portsmouth, it feels good to see life in Portsmouth. Now,
Louie,
the catch-20, yes.
We've got to do the transition here.
We have to make a transition from the radio.
Don't lose your thought.
Yeah. We have to make a transition from the radio, and we want to thank all the listeners on WGPL 1350 AM for listening. And please join us next Monday, as our guest will be Michael Chapman, who is a retired engineer from NASA. And if that last name sounds familiar, there's a reason for that. Chapman. But anyway, go ahead.
Go ahead, Louie.
Finish your point there. We
Don't
continue on
do it.
Facebook Live.
You on the
I'm excited about the casino being there.
See the lights.
I'm excited. I'm excited about the casino being there, driving down Victory Boulevard and seeing those lights on and seeing life come to Portsmouth. And while I'm excited about that, I'm also concerned about what it could do to the collective community. But when we make decisions like that within our city, we make those decisions. Unfortunately, the powers that be are making those decisions with their pockets in mind and not with the community in mind. Or we have a triangle, right? We have a triangle. We've got Churchland, which isn't even considered Portsmouth by those people who live in Churchland.
That's right.
You say, where do you live at? They say, I live in Churchland. Not that I live in Portsmouth, right? Or they'll say things like, I live in Portsmouth, not that part, Churchland. Right. So we've got these pockets of selective rise, right? You got Churchland, then you have Cavalier Manor, an affluent African-American middle class community. And then you get on the other side of Victory Boulevard down to the front side of Effingham, and it's a bunch of poverty.
Right.
Nobody is concerned about that pocket of people.
Right.
Mhm.
Well,
Right.
housing is going to deal with them.
Mhm.
Well, we'll let PHRA deal with them. We'll ask the police to get them out of here. Right? This pocket of people that exists that the powers that be don't care for. And organizations like the NAACP, to be honest with you, while we're concerned about everybody, a lot of our time is focused in the triangle.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
But if we don't get people to join forces with the NAACP, pay dues, no shots, right? um, pay dues, become more involved and more vocal and visible in their communities. They're extensions of us. We need to grow in NAACP's and Swanson membership in Swanson Home,
Mhm.
in Prentice
Right.
Park, in Truxton, in Cavalier Manor, and in Churchland,
Mhm.
right? Because collective, our power is collective. It's not individual.
Mhm.
Right. And that's on that point too. That's why we've been so intentional about not allowing the politics of the day to be our mainstay. You know what I mean? Like, because we want to bring people together around a common cause, as Pastor Gibbs was saying. And I mean, even going to the casino for sure. Like you talk about economic power. Well, we definitely, as you said, it's good when you have development in the city. That helps everybody. But the question becomes, what's going to happen to the revenue from the casino? Is it going to go to those communities that Pastor Gibbs was talking about, those communities that have been marginalized and disparaged for generations, so that we can build programs to help to eradicate things like gun violence, so people have alternatives and they're not resorting to violence? Those are the questions that we're looking at. While people, like you said, the edifice is great, it looks great, it's life, it's good economic development for the city. But what happens when it's time for the revenue conversation? And when the city gets this windfall profit, where are they going to put it? You know, and that's the question that we've been focused on, and that's what we're going to continue to focus on. But he's absolutely right. We got to bring our people together around a common purpose that's bigger than politics.
To jump in right
James,
there.
oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I just want to say this real quick. Revenue streams like that should go to the areas that's going to help to squelch the gun violence or the violence in our city.
Right.
We have no real recreational programs in our city.
Exactly.
Right? We got a whole Parks and Rec department and no real recreation. Our kids' parents are leaving the city to take them to Suffolk and Chesapeake to be a part of recreational programs. If they could get in those programs, because you have to be a citizen of that particular city.
Mm-hmm.
Subsequently, people are moving and leaving from the city to give better opportunities to their children, because we're not focused on the real people, the real matters, not the real people, the people that are hurting, the people who need the resources the most. Instead, even in our community, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, James, you were talking before we went on air about coming together like we were at one time, different groups coming together, because I think it needs to be defined what each group can do. If everybody depends on the NAACP to do everything, that's putting the pressure. That's kind of hard. But if the groups, you have all these different groups like the MLK, they are PAC, which deal with political issues, and once you define all this and who's doing what, then each group can concentrate on what they do. And, it's not a lot of pressure on one different group or everybody expecting the NAACP to do everything. Then your focus could be just like what you are talking about now. So hopefully we can get back to that, like we were talking earlier. And it's kind of hard these days to get people to think like that, because personal agendas and everything that's going on. But it's necessary, especially when you talk about crime. Crime, it's not going to be something that's going to be handled overnight, or you put in the city manager's hands and say, do it in 9 months or we're fired. But it's a collective effort in order to deal with that, because you have to start with the root of the problem in order to do it. So,
that's right. That's exactly right. And I mean, I'll say this too. Like I've often said, Facebook posts is destroying unity. I've tried to say this. I do not determine someone's character based upon what I see on Facebook. I don't do that. We have to get back to one-to-one interaction in our community. And I said that because it's so important, because you will be enemies with somebody that you don't even know based upon what you see on Facebook. And we take years and years and years fighting somebody, and I'm talking about my own personal experience, or not liking somebody because you think you know what they're not doing or what they are doing. Then you go and post it, someone posted, and then you have this whole interpretation of somebody based upon what you see on Facebook. And it's destroying our community because we cannot come together, because I don't want to be seen with you and you're mad at this person and it's bad politics for me to be seen with you. All that stuff is silly, right? It's silly, and it's destroying our community. And what, like Pastor Gibbs was saying, and what you were saying about Overton, but Sister Lee was saying, we got to find a way to dismiss that kind of stuff and say, look, leaders have to come together and say, all right, look, the NAACP, you're doing this part. CCIA, you're doing this part. MLK, you're doing this part. And we don't have to be so disjointed. We can come together around purpose, right? But we gotta, and I've said this, and one of the things that Pastor Gibbs helped me to understand is the power of reconciliation. How important it is for us to reconcile, even when we have disagreements, even when it's bad. And I can think of several examples for me in relationships that kind of went awry. But one of the things I'm trying to focus on with the organization personally, me as just a community person, is just to reconcile and say, listen, I know we had differences, but let's just come together, because this moment is too important for us to be individuals right now. Let's be a collective.
And and you're right about that. And you also, at a point when we need to devise a plan, we can go throughout the city of Portsmouth and let people know who we are, how we can come together, start in each community, unite the city. There's been so much division within the city over the past couple of years. If we can formulate a plan to go about and reintroduce ourselves to each other,
right?
Reintroduce ourselves to each other and let everybody know we're all about the same common goal. And that's what's good of the city of Portsmouth, Right. But we got to get away from the mentality that I don't want your organization to be better than my organization. And I want to be the person to be the lead person in this. I want everybody to see me as the person making the difference in the city. I don't want James to be the person making a difference in the city. I don't want Louie. I want everybody to focus on me. But somehow or another, we got to come together and go throughout each community. NAACP need to reintroduce yourselves to those folks out there in Churchland. Let them know who you are. You know what I mean? And find there is something that we can do to bring that unity to the city. We've got to get there, because we're so disjointed now. You got this little pack over here, you got this little group over here, you got this one, like you said, James, I don't talk to you, you don't talk to me. And it makes no sense. Because we're not going anywhere. When we live like that, we're not going anywhere at all.
Yeah, exactly.
We have to focus on what we agree on.
Exactly.
Instead of spinning our wheels talking about what we don't agree on.
Exactly.
I'm gonna say something that on a show like this is going to sound crazy. So I'm gonna get my Jamal Bryant on for a second.
Get Jamal going.
We've got to take a lesson from our unreconciled brothers in the Republican Party. Here it is. Nobody wanted McCarthy, but none of them were going to vote for the Democrats. Right? Like, I don't think we paid attention to that. 15 rounds of voting.
15.
The simple answer would have been, well, let's throw our votes to the Democrats. However, we don't have the same common goal.
Exactly.
So we need to find a way to get the one who has our goals in mind in office. And the one thing that I've seen from this brokenness in the political system, particularly in the Republican Party, is come hell or high water, they're going to be party strong.
They're going to be party strong.
I wish that Black people would be party strong. And I'm talking about the party of Black America. So we can stand together regardless of the things that we don't agree on.
Exactly.
Let's stop fighting with what we don't agree on and find the areas that we do agree on, and let's kick that down the street.
Exactly.
Let's focus on that ball and kicking that ball to a goal, right? Maybe as we continue to walk along, we'll find that some of the areas that we thought we disagreed on, we actually agree on, we're just
Exactly.
communicating it different.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. Exactly.
I always bring up this example of back when I was young, when I was a little boy, I would see my dad working for civil rights back there when it was, when before the rules, when Jim Crowism was still sort of out there controlling what we could do. And I used to go to the meetings with him and be a little boy and see them guys behind, and it would always be at churches, arguing back and forth. But when them guys walked out of that church,
They were
they were
united.
like arm
They
in
were
arm.
united.
Nobody knew how, and I would sit there and say, really confused as a little kid, because I said, they should be fighting. The way they were arguing. But and then it would confuse me more when they would get outside and hey, that was I'll use the word, that was the front that they presented, to the people after they had their disagreements. And like I said earlier, disagreements are healthy, because you get a lot of different perspectives. I've had, the light bulb comes on when you have somebody that disagrees with you, because you might say, I never thought of that.
Exactly.
Right.
I was sitting in my own thought about this, but you disagreed. And now, I think I can meet you halfway on that, or I'll completely change. And like you gentlemen said, that's what we're missing. How are we going to get there? I don't know. how we missed the opportunity to have 6 Black people on council and not take advantage of that, and not show people that we could work together.
Thank you. Thank you.
At least, have the arguments in the back room and come out there and show. We could have done a lot of different things. A lot of time was wasted back and forth with each other.
We're too emotional.
Yeah, let the emotion.
We're too emotional. To your point though, Slim and Leah, here's what is true. I want to be transparent for a moment. We need community support.
Yes, we do.
And encouragement. We do what we do regardless of any of that, right? But to be 100% with you, when we're fighting all the time. There was a season when James and I were in the street all the time, where, it was nonstop. I won't see my family for days at a time because we were just doing a lot of things. And then we hear only complaints about what we're not doing, and not any encouragement and support for what is happening. And it goes back to what James was saying earlier. Just because you don't see a person doing something doesn't mean that we're not doing something. And just because we haven't gotten to your row yet doesn't mean we're not coming to your row. There are a lot of issues that are happening within our city. We've got the housing conglomerate that owns London Oaks and some other spaces in Hampton Roads not caring about its people and doing some crazy things. If we could show you some of the pictures and tell you some of the testimonies about those who live in London Oaks who are nowhere near in a space of fair housing.
Right.
We have this ideation that fair housing means that you've got housing, period. That's not where it is. It's the conditioning of the house. It's the condition of the housing that you're living in. And right here in our own city. Now, here's the thing. Our city council will say things like, that's private property. Yeah. But these are your citizens. Right? They can't say this is my private money. You gonna make them pay personal property tax in the city like anybody else.
Exactly.
Right.
But you have no interest in their living conditions because it's private property. Well, this is a representation of your city, and this is why people ain't coming. Right. So there are things like fair housing, which James didn't mention, that we just need. Here's the deal: we just need equally what will help us grow in membership and continue to make an impact. It's people like yourselves saying, "Yo, y'all need to go and join the NAACP." Right. Every week at the end of your show, you should get up and say, NAACP is there. You should join them. Right?
Well, tell them when do you meet? The date and time of your meetings, and how much does it cost to join the NAACP?
No, I did that
I'm glad you asked, James.
Yeah, glad you asked. It's $30 a year. If you want to start with a general membership, you can do a life membership, which is $750 a year. You can pay $75 for 10 years and get that. We have different degrees of membership, but basically the entrance level for membership is $30 a year. So it's not that bad at all. We meet currently the last Saturday of the month at 10 a.m. We've been doing that virtually. And you can reach out to Patricia Carroll, or you can reach out to me, reach out to us, NAACP Portsmouth at gmail.com, or find us on Facebook. We're very responsive up there, and we can tell you how to come to the meetings, how to join, all that. So it's definitely there.
And when we get off of here, or even if you are there now on Facebook Live, if you can put that information out there on my page, then it will be there. So for those who are listening, and I'm telling you what, Miss Carol is good at what she does. And
She's
I know
amazing.
she has been after me, and I say, I'm going to get to it. I'm going to get to it. You know, you get so caught up in the other things that you're doing that you, and so I'm guilty, James, just as you're gifted, just as you're guilty, James, just as you're guilty, James. Okay, I'm guilty, and I need to take care of that, really, because I was an avid member of the NAACP, served on the state level for the NAACP, was in charge of the state youth program. And what are y'all doing about engaging the youth, getting the youth involved? We have a strong youth chapter here in Portsmouth. I still got the pictures. I think I sent you some of the pictures.
You did, yeah, I remember.
Of the young people who were a part of the youth NAACP, because the kids don't know their history. They don't know their history. They don't understand what's going on. We need to, I'm saying we, I'm not saying you, we need to get those kids re-engaged in the NAACP to help them to understand those people who fought and died, just for them to have the freedom that they have. And maybe if they understand those who fought and died so that they can be there, they can have what they have, then maybe they would start, change that mentality from, you know, I can shoot this guy because he looks like me, and I don't mind because I don't like me. So therefore it's easy for me to shoot him, you know. So maybe we can change that mindset. And you're not going to do it for everybody. You start with one kid at a time, but engage them, get them involved. They have to be involved. This is not the time for us to shut down on the kids, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. On that point too, Leah, like when I'll tell you guys a real quick story. When I first started in 2015, after Dr. Daniel suddenly passed away, I never forget, I got a call. I was 2 months in, and somebody called me and said, James, you know, we think you're a nice guy, but we don't think you're going to survive. You'll do one term and then you'll probably be ousted out because you're not going to be able to handle the older members and then trying to bring in younger
Tell
members.
me about it.
And you know, I've said this oftentimes, that, and I think Pastor Gibbs was saying this earlier, we cannot have generational war.
Exactly.
Right? We got to stop that.
Exactly.
The reality of this is like, what I find is a lot of the young people do understand a lot of the history. Like when we were out there marching and protesting, we had a lot of young people that come out and was like, hey, I see what's happening. I want to be involved in the struggle. The challenge that they have is sustainability. Their attention span is so quick.
Yes, it is.
So it's like, I'm on to the next thing. But what the older generation has is they have sustainability. They know how to withstand and keep being membership, come to, you know, they know that pattern. So if we can combine the two, right, where the older generation can teach the younger generation and the younger generation can give legs to the older generation, we'll have something.
Yes, and teach the older generation. They bring in technology. They bring in all the things that we need in order to make things happen, you know?
Exactly right. So it's a merger, and I always say this to us now. Me, I'm considered the older one now. I always say, you know, let's make sure that we're merging, right? We're not creating a war, because I think they do understand a lot of it. It's just more of, there's certain things that we have experienced that we can teach, and then, like you said, things that they can teach us too. So we're definitely focused on it. Like that's something that's really, really important for us, is to merge those two, and it has been from the beginning. Yeah.
Leah. I just wanted to get in there. Well, I think you would get ready to do that, because we have some people that are asking questions. Well, you can go ahead. You can go ahead and relay the questions on your page, especially. You can start with Roderick. Roderick
Hawthorne has asked, just a minute. Let me get to Roderick. Has the NAACP in Portsmouth been a part of racial justice and equality in the city of Portsmouth education for the school system?
Oh,
Say that
absolutely.
question. I'm sorry. Say that
Oh, go
question
ahead.
again.
Has the NAACP been a part of racial justice and equality in the city of Portsmouth's education for the school system?
Yeah, I think James is about to say that. Absolutely. In the areas that we found out about those. We just had a case in Portsmouth. Was it last year, James?
I believe it was last year.
Last year, where a young Black man was about to be railroaded because of his involvement with a young white girl. And based on that interaction, the school system was ready to, never been in trouble before, ever.
Right.
But the school, the crazy part, it was like something that we saw off of a movie. I didn't really expect it to be going down the way that it was going down.
Right.
It was literally the white girl is this innocent whatever, and the Black guy is this. It was really like Birth of a Nation all over again. We had to actually go in and have a conversation with the principal. I don't want to say the school. We had to go in and have a conversation with the principal and began to share the concerns of how this is a racially biased decision. Ultimately, the kid did not have to go to alternative school. His record was erased because they were really putting some things down in his record that would mess him up for a long time.
Right.
His record was erased and the situation was forgotten. Had the NAACP not been there, that young man would have been expelled. That young man would have had something on his record, and he possibly would have gone to jail behind not something that the girl said,
Right.
but something that they assumed was happening. And for sure it was racially motivated, or there was racial bias from the powers that be within the school system. So the answer is yes, we are hugely involved wherever we are asked to be involved.
Right.
And here's the truth, when that makes sense. There are some things people will bring to us that we don't get involved in. That is not a pressing issue. People have to be patient with that and understand that this is not something that we could take on at this particular time. But kids are always a huge part of our pursuit.
And what about the teaching staff? Have you had any instances when you've had to intervene on behalf of the staff?
Yeah, we've had instances like that for sure. And matter of fact, working on one that was brought to our attention last year that we're working on. Can't say too much public about it, but I will say that for sure that there are issues in the system, in the school system, that we're trying to address. So let me say this too, because I want to make it very, very public that Dr. Bracy has been very open with conversations.
Yes.
He's never shied away from conversation. He's always said, hey, come to me with something and let me at least try to fix it.
Exactly.
So I want to commend him for that, for his stance. But certainly there are issues, like for example, with teachers, some teachers I brought to our example, how limited they are when it comes to, and principals for that matter, with the language with suspensions, right? We see disparity when it comes to Black kids being suspended versus white kids being suspended, and the offenses. You have a white kid that gets suspended for 2 days, and then for the same offense, and a Black kid gets suspended for 10, right? So you have those type of disparities and behaviors that I know Dr. Bracy has said he wants to for sure address. But those things and more, we've definitely been focused on it, and teachers come to us with that for sure. We advocate for them too for resources that they need.
We've been doing Coffee Talk for about 3 years now, and one thing I've learned is to be able to read my co-hosts. And I know when the Colonel does this, he has something to say. So Colonel, I read you, brother.
Thank you. But you know what? And I will say this in my own opinion, and it may resonate to everybody out there. and I will tell you point blank, Jim Crow is not dead. He is alive. Well,
Kicking and smacking. You hear me?
we have to get by that. And I think Slim made a comment that we had 6 Black folks on the city council. We didn't get a lot of stuff done because of the infighting. But I will harken back to saying, who was the 6th? Just because you have that skin color doesn't mean that you are united and like you do.
Yeah.
And so so I'll go back there, and I call back the 4 horsemen. 2 of them are still there, and the people know who I'm talking about. But also get back to the Republican Party, who I call now is the Confederate Party across this country.
Right.
And you look at how they vote, and I will give it to the Republican, the Confederate Party. They will all vote in unison, and to their whatever the leadership says, they will vote in unison, even if they don't agree, but they will vote in unison just to stop the other party. And so even you see that they have 4 Black members of the congressional caucus in congressmen on the Confederate Party. They will trot out their one tokenism, Mr. Donalds, and say, well, I was almost here, I'm on my 2nd term, and my party, Confederate Party, was going to make it to the House. And only 4 of them out there, 4 of them jokers. And so that is that tokenism of the Confederate Party. Case in point, across this nation in the last 22 election, they had another 25 Black folks run against 25 African Americans that the Democrats put out. So you saw that across the country. If you're Black and you're running in the Democratic Party, they're gonna find some token to put out there to run against you to split the vote.
And Colonel, mention the fact that unqualified
oh Lord,
individuals that they put out there, but they think just because they're Black, we can put them out there.
Yes. And with no platform, don't even know what they're really running for.
Exactly.
Other than they'll always tote out, I'm gonna protect your guns, and I'm gonna support Donald Trump, and whatever the new things, whatever they want to do, they'll just be a pseudo Herschel Walker, and who he shouldn't even be running for dog catcher, but they will put them out. And so we have to get by on just because they're Black, that they're going to support, especially when we make the comment for the city council, because some folks don't have the bandwidth to be there, and just because they're Black, and we get their vote, they get our vote because they're saying, I'm from the hood, and you can look it up who said I'm from the hood, so I need to represent, we need to have me there. And so you can look up who said that, and if you came on the street, tell them I said it.
Colonel, we gotta be real careful there too, because I remember, and this is gonna be a little controversial, I remember as a little boy, my aunts and my grandmother giving me a book called Gifted Hands that talked about Ben Carson.
Exactly.
And how Ben Carson was the first Black to do so much and in his field, and what has happened through politics. We gotta be careful, because politics will make us cancel Black existence if we're not careful.
Exactly.
Okay? Because I remember reading that book and feeling so much pride and joy behind Ben Carson. And then when the media and the politics got to him, he became this conservative, and now he's in our own community, we don't even talk about what now put aside the politics, I don't agree with a lot of stuff he did, etc. I'm public about that. But the reality of it is he was a gifted Black man who did a lot in the field. Right. And we canceled out. We got to be very careful too, even on council, how we describe certain individuals that we happen to disagree with. right? If you disagree with them, there's a way to deal with it. We have election ballots, we have things of that nature where we can deal with it. But the reality of this is we gotta be very, very careful, because we don't want to destroy, you know what I mean? Even if you disagree, there's a way that we can vehemently disagree with somebody, deal with it, and then let that person still survive. But when I see certain things on Facebook characterized by, now I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna, people are probably gonna say whatever they want to say about it. Regardless of what you think about the man, when I see Dr. Whitaker, all right, whose family has been in the civil rights struggle for a long time. His father, the saddest thing that I saw, his father that was one of the only pastors that welcomed Dr. King when he came to Portsmouth, because a lot of people don't know that King was labeled as radical, and a lot of pastors didn't mess with him. But one of the only pastors that welcomed Dr. King when he came to Portsmouth, and when he passed away, there wasn't the mass response from the Black community that there should have been behind politics, right? Now, whether you agree with Dr. Whitaker or not, there's things that I don't agree with them. I get it. But when I hear things like, oh, he doesn't have a doctorate degree. Oh, he doesn't. This is a man that has raised children, who has beautiful children that are in college, that has went through the American educational system and got a Juris Doctor degree, regardless of whatever you got. We just have to be careful about how we allow certain people. And I'll give you an example. There's an individual on council right now that used Black disunity to get his way back on council. This is a man that said that, you know, was vehemently opposed to protests, who follows Donald Trump, who retweets his tweets all the time when he said, when Donald Trump told Ocasio-Cortez and the other beautiful Black sisters in Congress to go back where they came from. He retweeted that. He was the one that was behind a lot of the stuff when it came to the Confederate monument and getting people arrested and all that. And then he used that to slide on, and we accepted it. Right. We accepted it. And so that's why we got to be very careful about how politics can destroy our own existence. So we got to be very careful. But I do think it was a sad thing when we had a 6-1 majority that's right. Is unheard of. And we couldn't find a way to come together.
Couldn't find a way.
Yeah.
And James, I agree with you. And I put that same thing out there for the politicians. They have to realize too that their importance in their positions.
Absolutely.
You know, so and I agree with you. We have to be careful how we label them publicly and things like that, because some of them have done some things ahead of what they're doing now that should be recognized. But they should also be aware of the position they hold.
I agree.
How they should conduct themselves. You know?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So it's a two-way street there.
Two-way street.
I want to get this question in, this other question in from one of our listeners, one of our followers rather. And James, you said your meetings are virtual now, and I think you can get a lot more people on, and people are still concerned about COVID and everything. But this particular person, Shirley Pettiford, is asking, are you planning to have your meetings back in person so people can come and see what's going on with the NAACP?
We are. Yes, sir. And I know Shirley. Good morning, Shirley. We are. Our plan is to get back virtual. I'll be honest with you. I have been very, very concerned about the COVID situation and have expressed that to the leadership. And while we've been meeting virtually, we will meet virtually this month. And then our plan is to go back in person starting in February. And that's tinged upon, you know, everything, because there's been I think a spike in our city with COVID. So I've just been very cognizant about that. But our plan is to go back in person in February.
And do virtual as well. So you can.
And do virtual as well. Yeah. Yeah.
And I just like to circle back to your statement. And yes, and when we were talking about, I think you brought up Dr. Ben Carson. And I go back to qualifications. Mr. Trump gave him that Secretary of HUD or whatever he had. And talking about qualification, he had no business being in that seat other than he was Black. Because I go back to my tokenism, because you leave in HUD and you don't know the difference of Section 8 housing versus Section 8 seats at the stadium.
Right.
And so it goes back to this qualification. And I bring that back to folks that are one of the two horsemen. We talk about city council now. You talk about Dr. Whitaker and his father. We look at legacy. Not all of the legacy spills on to the son. And not all the sins of the father or whatever falls on to the sons or whatever. So, you make your own legacy of the decisions that you make while you're in the seat. And then so it is clear that a lot of the decisions that he made as part of being part of the Four Horsemen were against the people that he tried to serve. And so I just go back and I say that to say, yes, I agree with what you said about being, trying to erase or being careful on what we say, but you still have to call out if you're not for what you stand for, then you need to be called out, regardless of who you are. And so you also made the point of the person that's on the city council now that has gotten there by benefited from the disunity. They got there because not enough folks went out to vote because they stayed home.
True. Very true.
Stayed home. And that is a fault of the citizens of the city. If you stayed home, this is what you got.
That's true.
Colonel Chapman. First, I want to honor you for your years of wisdom.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
absolutely.
but I gotta disagree.
Yeah.
I do agree that people staying home is a culprit to what happened.
Right.
But I'm not gonna let the people off the hook who did vote and their votes helped usher in my man back into the space. I don't do very well with conjecture.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do very well with a bunch of talking and no proof. Most of the people who are calling out, since we brought him up, it is what it is. I don't have a dog in his fight. That's not my uncle, right? He is no kin to me. He's not my blood. But most people who are jumping on the bandwagon of conjecture couldn't tell you what Dr. Whitaker did wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Most people can't articulate at all what the issue is.
Right.
Their parent. Oh, I'm about to say something about us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just our people. In politics, you got a whole bunch of parent talk.
Mhm.
Yes.
They're four horsemen. Four horsemen. He's wrong. He's wrong. Right? And before we know it, everybody is parent talking.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And here's the thing, it's called misdirection. And so while we are focused on this over here, Bill Moody, who called us, did I say the N-word?
Yeah.
Not here,
That's
Gibbs.
why I said called us the N-word and thought that I was about to get my Jamal Bryant on again.
Okay.
The N-word and thugs and all of this other stuff. Again, let's go back to the Confederate party as you talk about. Party strong.
Yeah.
To the point that what we just saw happen on council would have never happened, even if it took 15 votes.
Mm-hmm.
That is where our flaw is. Our flaw is conjecture and emotions.
But
You
yeah,
made
you were correct.
that I didn't like. And because you made the decision that I didn't like, I'm taking my ball back.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But
And then we leave the people in this space where, nope, listen, guys, our reputation, our city's reputation
Right.
is in the trash because
It is.
of what we're talking about
It
now.
is.
Right.
It's the foolery of the decisions that's being made. In the public, we done had 17 city managers in 1 year.
yeah.
Not 17. Not 17, Louie.
I'm
Seems
just
like
saying.
it.
And see, you might as well, at this point, Mimi Terry is the city manager. Go ahead and make her the city manager. He'd have been interim 45 times. It doesn't make we're doing too much and not enough, if that makes sense.
That's right.
But
Sorry, I hope that came off respectful.
It did, Louie. It
Yeah,
did.
let me step in,
Yeah.
Colonel, because we're running a little
Yes.
long, and that's okay too, because when you have something important to say, time is not an issue, but sometimes it is.
Yeah.
I want to say this is what we were talking about, having discussions like this where we don't always agree, but somehow we'll walk away with something from this. And that's why we do Portsmouth Coffee Talk, to share information like this.
Exactly.
We like to have lively discussions like this where you disagree with certain things, and most of the time you're going to agree on most things, but you don't want a group of people where everybody disagrees, because everybody will fall asleep. So we're going to commit to having the NAACP
You gotta come back. Gotta come back.
quarterly, to help with the membership and help with keeping people up to date with what's going on. And hopefully it'll be a collection of groups coming together and like I said earlier, defining what each group's strongest point is and where they should be. So before we end, we always end with last comments from our guests and our host. But Colonel, I'm gonna let you go ahead, Colonel, because I think I saw this again.
Oh yeah, I had put it down, but since you in the first, yes, and I agree with my host and with our guests, and we've covered a lot of different topics, but I will hark back to, it goes back to voters, and for those non-voters that are registered or non-registered, I go back to, you are part of the problem, and if you didn't vote, then you have no, in my opinion, you don't have a say-so, because you've given up the only power that those who came before us fought and died for, and that you sat at home watching Oprah or whoever you're watching, or playing them PlayStation games, then you get what you get. And then so, but now that I've said that, and we'll have to get you back on so we can continue this debate on our folks that are fronting. But y'all keep doing what you're doing, because we need the organizations like NAACP to be out on the forefront, and more so now, because the Confederate Party and half of this country, it's like the North and the South, and we are revisiting history of the Confederacy and how it's taken over, and we have our Confederates in state office now that is trying to rewrite history, and it's taken us down a road that we do not want to go. And so that's my point for the day.
Well, let me just say, I love you two young men. I love the energy.
We love you too.
I just appreciate you all so much, having grown up involved in the civil rights movement. So it just does my heart good to see, and I'm an advocate for bringing young people in. I'm an advocate of the young, and those who are more seasoned, coming together, working together, and making a difference. The main thing is that you make a difference, in the lives of the people. So I appreciate both of you so very much. I appreciate the candid conversation. I appreciate and really look forward to your coming back to Portsmouth Coffee Talk. And I'm going to do my part, James. I'm going to do my part this week, okay?
Yeah, and I'm going to do mine.
Get mine in. You need to get yours in, okay? Get yours in. And Gibbs, where'd you graduate from, Gibbs?
Regent University, Republican City.
I'm talking about high school. You know how we are around here. High school is just as important as college, huh?
I graduated from Oscar Smith. Well, actually, I did graduate. I would have graduated from
poor baby. But anyway, for all of you,
state
out there
champions,
listening but you can join us, Gibbs. You can be an associate member, okay? So
I would love to.
Well, we're going to make that happen, okay? But anyway, I want to thank every listener and every person who's out there on Facebook Live. We thank you. We thank you for your comments. James or Louie Gibbs, I want you to go on my page and put the date and times for the NAACP meetings and the amount for the memberships. Please put that out there so they can see it. And once we go off, we will convert this into YouTube and it will be out there forever for those who want to see it, and they can subscribe and like our page. We appreciate that so very much. And I just look forward to all the great things that you young men are going to do, and the young women who are involved, like Onyx Hicks and Elisa Saunders,
Yes,
Flint
yes,
Winston,
yes,
Pat
and
Carroll.
Pat Carroll.
yes,
Pat's been around forever. Pat has
yes,
been around forever, and she does an amazing job. So
yes.
I look forward to all that you all are going to do in the future. And I look forward to that unity march that we're going to have to bring all of the cities together, all of the citizens together. Okay.
Love it.
Thank you so very much.
Yes, ma'am.
James.
I was gonna-
Do I guess have anything to say
I was
before
gonna
we
let our
close?
guests.
Yes.
God bless you and good night. Amen.
God bless you as well.
Okay, I just wanted to say, I hope one of the times you come on, we can do a complete history of the NAACP.
Yes.
I think, and go back as far as we can. I think that's important, especially for our young people to know, especially about what happens here. You know, a lot of things happen nationally, but a lot of things happen here locally, especially during those dark days of Jim Crow. So
Exactly.
we want to settle on something like that. But I want to thank you guys again for coming on. We appreciate you, and we look forward to having you back. And we're gonna make sure the word gets out, you know, what we're doing, what you're doing. Portsmouth Coffee Talk is here for our voice,
Our community,
In our future.
and we salute both of you.
we salute you, gentlemen. Thank
Thank
you.
you for coming on.
Take care. Have a great day.
Take care.
Right.
Thanks,
Take care.
everyone. Oh, and Leah, tell everyone who we're gonna have this Thursday.
This Thursday, we have Nathan Woodard, who's head of behavioral health for the city of Portsmouth. We're trying to
Right.
get information out there to the citizens so they can know what the diverse departments are doing within the city. So please stay tuned. And if you have any questions for Mr. Nathan Woodard from Portsmouth Behavioral Health, who will share with you what's going on in that department.
Yeah, a
That's
lot of
next
people don't
Thursday
know.
at 7 o'clock.
A lot of people don't know the help that's available to them.
And a
out there,
lot of
especially-
help is available through the behavioral health services. So stay tuned next Thursday.
Okay, gentlemen, have a nice day.
Have a
Co-host,
nice
have a
day.
nice day.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right now.
God bless.